What can you do to help us heal quickly? I've asked this to myself countless times as I've watched many suffer. I'm going to use the example of a serving RCMP Sergeant in a peer support group who had struggled for decades. He was a forensics investigator, and he investigated many burnt homes with bodies, and he struggled for years trying to make sense of the puzzle. Why he was trying to make sense of why he was struggling. And for years, decades, he struggled, trying different therapists, different methods, trying to put the puzzle together, and he couldn't. And he struggled, and I bawled every time he talked in the peer support group. And this was about 5 years ago, and I had seen enough people suffering. I couldn't bear listening to him talking about his struggle, and so this has lots to do with me doing this race against time, because we don't have to suffer. Dr. Ockberg talks about how the future of mental health will have subject matter experts treat specific areas of mental health care. And I think he's talking about injuries, but I think there's needs to be experts in different areas. And so with the retired RCMP officer as an example, who's to say he couldn't see two specialists, one for moral injuries, another for people suffering from Stockholm Syndrome. I think Stockholm Syndrome because of the helplessness feeling of being helpless to be able to help these people. He couldn't help those people, and I think it's reasonable that this RCMP Sergeant could have met with two specialists, two mental health specialists, like explorative surgery, I think is what it's called. Like, why wait decades to find one that helps? Why not explore the different injuries until you find the one that, like a moral injury, because it's a betrayal of what we're led to believe. We're led to believe that we can help those people in this example, and at the same time a therapist, psychologist who specializes with the Stockholm Syndrome. And having said that, Dr. Jonathan Shea talks about the importance of peer support groups, and all the world experts point to Dr. Jonathan Shea, and Shea says he can't help individual people. He says where we get the help from is peer support groups. So let's prescribe, as an example with this RCMP Sergeant, after the fact, it's too late now, But why not prescribe 2 therapists and a peer support group? The peer support group, so that there's several people with similar experiences who can share their thoughts on the subject to help him put the puzzle together, and the 2 different therapists who specialize in certain areas. One, in this example, one with moral injuries, because it's a betrayal of what we're led to believe, that we can help people, that we're here to help people. As an RCMP officer for him in this scenario, and at the same time the helplessness feeling, like is the case with people suffering from Stockholm Syndrome, where they're made prisoner. And this is important because he couldn't do anything to help them. So he was helpless to help them. He couldn't do anything to help them. He couldn't. So, like explorative surgery, let's explore some options, give them the best care possible. The one who specializes in, I would say that's reasonable to have a therapist that specializes in moral injuries, a betrayal of what we're led to believe, that we're here to help people, and another to look at the other perspective is the helplessness feeling. And once he finds the injury, what the cause of his injuries, there's better ways to treat those. So instead of having this RCMP sergeant suffer for decades, why not help him as quickly as we can? Like Dr. Ogberg says, is the future of psychology will have subject matter experts treating specific injuries. And when there could reasonably be more than one injury, why make somebody suffer? And I'm suffering, among many things, with secondary PTSD, or sometimes called, there's another name for it. So that's the thing. That's why I'm doing this. That's why I started this race against time, because there's no need for this opioid epidemic. It makes me sad to know that people are suffering. Needlessly suffering. How many people are going to die of suicide or drug overdoses because they're in pain and they're trying to numb the pain, and when it's avoidable, preventable? Why couldn't I delay this till spring? Because it's a race against time, because so many people die every 3 seconds, because how many people die every day because we lose countless to suicide and drug overdoses, and because they're trying to numb the pain. Because why? What can you do to help us heal quickly? There's better practices. Let's focus on the best methods to help us heal. So who's going to pay for the 2-3 therapists? Why not pay for 2-3 therapists in a year versus 30 years? The math should be about the same. The cost would be about the same. So instead of making somebody suffer for 30 years, why not get it done with? Why not prescribe oxygen? Why oxygen? Well, we know that there's evidence that shows that cardio improves or restores cognition. In fighter pilots, oxygen restores cognition, and astronauts. And in special forces, the military special forces, they try to encourage special forces soldiers to do cardio, because cardio improves cognition. It actually builds red blood cells and improves the oxygen circulation through the body, through the muscles, and into the brain. So if special forces soldiers are encouraged to do cardio, why can't we do cardio to help people suffering, or prescribe oxygen for people suffering of mental health to improve their cognition, to help them think clearly? To me, it only makes sense. Why can't we prescribe oxygen? Why can't we prescribe cardio? Why can't we prescribe 2 therapists in 2 years versus 2 therapists or in 20 years? I've had a military vet suggest that I should do the same thing he did. In 12 years, he struggled with 3 different therapists doing different therapies. None of it worked, and so he put a gun barrel in his mouth. The gun didn't go off, and then he wanted me to do the same thing he did. He suggested I should see a therapist. And it's like, well, for how long? Like, because that obviously went really good for him. He's just lucky. Like... So, why... So that's why. So we can live life, enjoy the beauty that's everywhere around us. Is it too much to ask? I've really struggled with the idea whether I should or shouldn't do this now. And I think the best way I can explain why I'm doing it now, I've had about a week or so to think about doing this now in the winter. And the thing is I couldn't live with myself knowing that you can help. You already have all the good evidence. If you don't, the good evidence is out there. Let's look for the best information to help us heal quickly. If it's up to everyone to look at, to consider doing things differently. Some of it we're already doing. A lot of it we're already doing. Some of it is in different areas of life. I spoke with a mental health nurse yesterday by chance at the subway. She asked why I had the backpack. She bought me a lunch, and not yesterday, the day before, or something like that. The day before, Thursday. So and she told me of something she does in mental health, and I said, absolutely, like that's awesome. And then she talked about how with her tenants, because she owns a home that she rents out, and she said with her tenants she didn't blame them for doing the bad thing, and she didn't praise them. She said, like, she sat down with them and talked to them and let them think things through, and that's the better method to get somebody to do something, is to ask them questions, to build trust with them. And like, it seemed like when I said that, like, it's like a light bulb went off, and she realized, like, and I said, like, you could do that at work, to encourage other co-workers to do more of the good stuff, is talk with them, build trust with them, like you do with your tenants. And something I need to practice myself best I can, but and that's what this is about, is growing pains. This doesn't happen overnight. It's something we can practice in time with, but we can choose to do more of the good things and find better methods. If we don't have the best methods, if we know there's things we're doing that could be better, let's find those better things and choose to start doing those better things now. Like a broken leg. I got a buddy who broke his leg many decades ago, and he let it heal without going to the hospital, without an x-ray, without going to the doctor. He walked with a crooked leg for decades. Sure, it healed. Sure, he's lived pain-free with what do you call it, a crook in his leg. There's better ways to heal broken legs. Why can we not look at better ways to heal mental health injuries? I'm going to suggest time does not heal mental health injuries. So I want to ask you, what can you do to help us heal quickly in this race against time? You can prevent suicides, you can prevent addictions, you can help somebody heal of schizophrenia. Lots of people are healing of schizophrenia. Lots of people are healing quickly of complex PTSD. If we support and encourage and motivate people like we do with a broken leg. What can you do to help us heal quickly? I don't have to walk across the country. There's lots of good evidence. I could drive across the country. Meet with groups, individuals. But I'm learning lots as I walk, and Tuesday I'll be leaving the Chilliwack area, walking towards Hope, and so as I walk I learn, and that's what this is really about, is putting out the best information possible, and as I walk as I learn, I can help others, and others can help countless people, and that's what this race is against time is. We all have it in us to choose to practice the best methods. It's a choice. And if I didn't do this, I couldn't live with myself. I have to do this. I have to do something to try to end the needless suffering. Speak for the voiceless. And many people have asked me why I'm doing this, and I touched on it earlier, but again, it's not for the lack of good evidence. There's a lot of people there's all kinds of TED Talks with good evidence. There's all kinds of videos, news with good evidence. There's lots of people raising awareness. My goal in this is to ask everyone, including you, what you can do to help us heal quickly. Of filling our emotional needs, social anxiety, and complex PTSD, or treating mental health injuries. So treating mental health injuries, social anxiety, and filling our emotional needs are three of the big topics in mental health. Distinct, different topics. And I'll touch more on those in days and weeks to come. In the meantime, my goal is to effect change, to improve the future of mental health care by asking you to do your part, to consider using the best possible information we have, things you already do, maybe in different aspects of our life. Let's also use those best methods to improve the future of mental health care. Thanks. Bye for now.